start?
Okay, here goes. Is it good? Live?
Our two mitzvahs, the Torah tells us in regards to Yetzias Mitzrayim. We have a mitzvah of Zecher Yetzias Mitzrayim. Throughout the year, we have a mitzvah of Sipur Yetzias Mitzrayim, Yilel Seder. Yetzias asks, is that Talmud to the Haggadah of Ma'aseh Nisim? It's a kasha that many Achronim that are bothered by. That why do we have a special mitzvah on the Yilel Seder of Sipur Yetzias Mitzrayim? Every day of the year we have a mitzvah of Zecher. So what's unique of the mitzvah of Sipur that we're required to do on the Yilel Seder? We can't go on with that saying over the famous Chaim and stencils. Chaim says there are three lukim differentiate between Sipur and Zecher. First one he says in the mitzvah of Sipur Yetzias Mitzrayim, it has to be said over ba'ifin of shal v'tshuva. The ben has to manishkan, and the father answers him avodah mayinu, and so on and so forth. And at Kat, the law is even if a person is having the seder on his own, he has to ask the manishkan himself and also do it ba'ifin shal v'tshuva not b'yotza l'agada. The next relic that the Nesivus also says, and Reb Chaim says, that's mechal between Sipur and Zecher, that because when it comes to the mitzvah of Zecher, it's enough for a person just to remember that there was a Gulam in Mitzrayim. Well, with that, his mitzvah is Zecher. When it comes to mitzvah Sipur Yetzias Mitzrayim, a person is mechuyev to go through the whole shtalshalus, throughout the whole chain of events, he has to say over a detailed experience of all that led up to the Yetzias Mitzrayim, go through all the details, the Avodah Mayinu, the Shibur, and go through the Makis, and finally that we had the Kriyas Yamsuf and the Yetzim Mitzrayim, and all with that he could be Yotza the Sipur, and we do it with the Ba'ifin of the style of Mas Nus and Misayim Mishvach. We came from Avadim to Bnei Chayrin, and all with that he could be Yotza the Sipur. And opposed to when it comes to by Zecher Yetzias Mitzrayim, we came in the mitzvah just with remembering that we went out of Mitzrayim. You don't have to go through the whole Harichus. The third Nafkamir Chaim says that to Yetzias the Kiyum to Sipur, a person has to go say the Shlosh Dvarim, like the Gemara says in Pesachim, Mil Emer Koshle Emer Gimel Dvarim, Elu Pesach Liyetz Dechavasai Velevein Pesach Matzah Mar. Only with going through these three inyanim, a person will Yetzias the Sipur. By Zech you don't have this requirement. The Aruch HaNer has a similar mahalach. He combines these two last chilukim of Reb Chaim, and he says that the difference between Zecher and Sipur is that by Sipur you have to after this saying over of all the details and the shtalshlus and the chain events of Yetzias Mitzrayim. And what's the shear for that? How much a person has to be ma'arich in Sipur is going through the inyanim of Pesach Matzah Mar. That's the way he says over the chiluk. One more time that to say over B'Shem Reb Chaim is that by Sipur Yetzias Mitzrayim is a special din of Chayiv Adam Liris Atzma Kil Yatz Mitzrayim. A person has to envision himself and imagine himself when he's saying over Sipur, he has to see himself as if he's going out of Mitzrayim. But when it comes to Zecher, you don't have that requirement. Pri Megadim has another malach. He says that Kol Hashana, every day of the year, when we're being Yotza the mitzvah of Zecher, there's no Indian to say it peh, to say it out and articulating it. But when it comes to the mitzvah Sipur, there's a special din that you have to actually articulate it, and you have to say it out your pen. You might befiv and not be Yotza mitzvah Sipur. The part of the svar for that is that there's an in over here to be mafaris in the nest, and only to be saying pepeh, to be mafaris in the nest and be ma'ar yourself and be ma'ar people around you to come to the point of being the haydus lahalo and being makar what HaKadosh Baruch Hu did for us, coming out of Mitzrayim, and that piercing could only be done by articulating it and saying pepeh. Which Shneimach also passes the halacha ma'isa, if a person wasn't Yetzias the Haggadah pepeh, he's not going to be Yetzias mitzvah Sipur.
Even by Ben Eleven
even Ben Eleven the only way to make kind of Sipur is be Yetzias pepeh. This far for that I was saying my own, but the chayr, that's the halacha psuka all over that you would have to be Yetzias pepeh. the Shagisarya, he's ma'achad this chiluk, and he holds that no, even Kol Hashana is a mitzvah to mitzvah peh. You're not going to say here kedibur when it comes to mitzvah zecher. Even by zecher, is it then to articulate it, then you have to be mitzvah peh, just like Mesipur. So put it to Shagisarya, you don't have this chiluk. But even if you put it to the Shagisarya, you have to mitzvah peh, side by the mitzvah zecher and side by the mitzvah sipur. There's still a nafkamina in the Indian of Amira that you can say between zecher and sipur. It's brought down in the Shalos Meshuvas of Divi Shleima. It says over Gracie Yesai, it's also brought down from the Stipler, similarly you say that when it comes to the Din of Shmei Ka'ina, the Din of Shmei Ka'ina is that when a mitzvah requires an Amira, you can hear from somebody else the Amira and be mechan to yaitz with him, and through him saying it, you could be yaitz and if you're mechaven to be yaitz with Amira, and it's as if you said it. That's Din of Shmei Ka'ina. So by most mitzvahs, you can do Shmei Ka'ina. But this is the Afka. The Agdara gives is that the Afka by a mitzvah that's Shayach, being other Atzmei, being other Lamakim. A mitzvah that's just Shayach to you, like say Kiddush Lamashal. Over there, if you need a Amir for Kiddush, it could be Yaitz by somebody else saying the Kiddush for you, and it's as if you said it. But when there's a mitzvah that involves other people, it's a mitzvah that manifests itself with a relationship with you and someone else, like the mitzvah of Agadah, that there's the din of Begat Levincha. Such mitzvahs where there's a din, it has to do with somebody else. It's a ben machaveri tika mitzvah kilu. There you cannot use the din of Shmei Ka'ina. Shmei Ka'ina does not work. So by the seder with the din of Begat Levincha, it's a mitzvah that has an amir that's shayach between one person and another. Over there, it's not going to work Shmei Ka'ina. Masha'en came by the mitzvah of zecher, even though there's a mitzvah that have an amira, it makes the peh, Kiddush Shagisarya. But still, you can be Yetzias the mitzvah even with the Shmei Ka'ina. Somebody else says over the Indian of Yetzias and Mitzrayim, and you have a mind to be Yetzias with his Amira. So by Zecher you would be Yetzias. Mashenki by Pesach, they'll say there for Sipur won't be Mahani.
Do you have the same understanding yourself, even if you heard it from a child?
L'chara could be you would have to say to be Yetzias Sipur, you would have to do the Shala and Shuvah. Hear from somebody else and say it over by yourself too. Could be.
Questions for the seaport?
Yeah, sure.
That was just to start the seaport, to get the questions so you can start the
Yeah,
seaport.
but there's a chel for seaport, for sure. Now there's a rush, Shalosh Shuvas a rush that says to the other extreme. The Fidush Shagisarya, he's saying that side by seaport, side by mitzvah zecher, you have to do it b'peh. The Rosh, Shalosh Shuvas Rosh goes to the other extreme. He says that not only by the mitzvah Zechit Yetzias Mitzrayim, there's a work even the Machshav, you don't have to say it, but even by the mitzvah Sipur Yetzias Mitzrayim, the Rosh holds that you don't have to be mitzvah peh, even Machshav is Mahani. So you're not going to have any of these nafkaminas that have to do with Amira, because they'll by Sipur Yetzias Mitzrayim, but I say that you don't need an Amira. The Chol could suggest a different nafkamina that will work even if you're a rush. There's a mechilta that says, goes to the mitzvah Begat Levincha. The mechilta says Begat Levincha. It goes on, talks about the mitzvah, and it says that the Begat Levincha is when V'shiyeh shematzu mar munach mfanecha al shulchanecha. The mitzvah Begat Levincha is the after one you have when it's matzu mar munach mfanecha. So the belt has a chakira. What does the mechilta mean over here? This that you have a din to do Begat Levincha when it's matzu mar mfanecha. Is pshat in the mechilta that is it just Agdaras as a man? It's a time frame that the mitzvah of Begat Levincha is the time of Leil Seder of Leil Tezvav, when that's the time when we have Matzah Mar Menachem Panecha. That's the time of year when we have a Matzah Mar. That's what the Torah is telling us. You have a mitzvah of Begat Levincha. It's merely Agdaras as man, or is it quite literal that the din of Begat Levincha is dafka when you have Matzah Mar on the Panecha. Dafka when on the table you have Matzah Mar. Only with that you can be kind of mitzvah. And if a person doesn't have the Matzah Mar b'shas that does the Agada, he's not going to be able to the mitzvah. So if you say the second side was saying that it's mamash din the open akima mitzvah, you can only be kind of mitzvahs when you literally have Matzah Mar in front of you, and it's not just a time frame, it's not just Agdaras Zman, rather it's mamash din the kima mitzvah, the all you can kind of mitzvahs daf when you have Matzah Mar in front of you. So view this very question after between Leil Seder and Shaimis Hashanah. When it comes to Shayim Shoshana, when you come to kind of Mitzvah Zecher, you don't need to have Matzah Mar. You just have you have a mind. You're remembering the Gula of Mitzrayim. You see it's Mitzrayim. It could be Yetzias. Mashenkin, but they'll say there, you would have to have Matzah Mar, the Fanechel Shuv Echel, in order to be kind of the Mitzvah's Sipur. I once heard years ago when I was walking there at Stroll from Erlanger. He said, not just another teretz to the kasha, but rather a homahalach in the Agada, which really encompasses all these nafkaminas and makes us understand why we have all these chulukim in the mitzvah sipur. So he says as follows: the yisod of schira that we have kol yimei hashana, the yisod of schira is emunah b'ashkachas Hashem and emunah in hashkachas pratis, and nichlan it's also the kabbalas mitzvahs, kabbalas machshmayim. Zechira, the mitzvah is all about having a munah, living in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. When it comes to the mitzvah sipur, the yisod of the mitzvah sipur is the hoidus lahal l'shabeach. We'll be machiach these kamerayas. So Parshas Yisro in the Saras Adirbis, when it talks about the mitzvah zecher, pasuk shteit Anochi Hashem Elokecha Asher Tzricha Mitzrayim, the Ramban in Parshas Yisro, he says as follows. He says, Yoyer v'yitzava oisam sheyedu v'yaminu. The Baruch Hu is commanding us that we should know and be maimin yesh Hashem v'ulekim lehem v'omer asher tzesicha meretz Mitzrayim. So here Klal Ramban is telling us that the mitzvah zecher is in and of emunah b'Hakadosh Baruch Hu. Sipur you see it's Mitzrayim, Leil Seder, that mitzvah is all about the hoidus hal l'shabeach. We have the Gemara Pesachim Dafkut Tazayin. Steht in the Gemara B'chol Dar V'Dar Chayiv Adam Liris is Atzmei Kilo Yatz Mitzrayim. Shenemar V'Gadat V'Vincha V'Yam Hu Leimar. And the Gemara says over there, Pika Chanatu Chayavim L'Hoydus Al Shabeach. So Allah Seder, a person b'chuyev to imagine himself as if he's going out of Mitzrayim. And he does the Agad, the Begat, the Bincha, and the Gemara tells us, therefore, v'chayavim l'haydus l'hal shabeach. So you see, clear it's in to come to a matzav, being a matzav v'hal shabeach like the Baruch Hu. Also in the Chinuch, in Mitzvah Chaf Aleph, the Chinuch says, Mitzvah Sipur Yetzias Mitzrayim. The mitzvah is the sapir of Yetzias Mitzrayim, B'lot Hazvav, Kol Echad Kfi Tzach S'shayno. A person should say over Yetzias Mitzrayim in any way you could best articulate it. Ulahal l'shabeach la'Hashem Yisparach. Al nisim she'asa lanu. So you be b'hal l'Hakadosh Baruch Hu. The mitzvah is b'hal l'Hakadosh Baruch Hu, the shabeach upon the nisim that he did for us. And again, we see in the Ramban in Sefer HaMitzvahs, Mitzvah Kuf Nun Zayin. The Ramban says that the mitzvah is l'sapir b'yitzias Mitzrayim, l'harach b'dvar ma'ashanasa lanu, l'hoydis lanu. The mitzvah is to be marach in the sipur and the nisim flies and the hoydis lanu. Right, we see that it's all in and of being the Hoydus HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Also, so I found in the Das Torah, in the Mashkiach Rabbi Rucham.
That's only by Sipur, not by Schira?
Right, but Mashenkin, when it comes to Mitzvah Zecher, the whole concept, the whole in is all about to get a Hamig Amunah. So also brought down Das Torah from the Rucham. Rucham says that whoever says the mitzvah of Sipur Yetzias Mitzrayim is the inyan of Emunah b'Hashem and Hashgacha Pratis, if a person thinks that the mitzvah sipur is about Emunah, he says very sharp shvach. He says, "Ein lechelik v'lekayim mal." It's he pushed the kafir. It's a borderline fear if I think that the sipur Yetzias Mitzrayim is about Emunah. Ella, what's the yisod of sipur? Zakir b'rucham. Yisod ha-sipur hainu l'hoydus lahal. The mitzvah sipur is l'hoydus lahal, to praise Hashem and be mahalim. The hainu hakaras ha'toyv. Having Akaras HaTayv. What's the raya? What's the raya that's in Akaras HaTayv? And it's Haydus Lahal. What is the raya? Is the fact that we have a mitzvah. Nichal the mitzvah sipur is the fact that we chayiv Adam Liris Atzmai Kili Mitzrayim. A person has to imagine, the fact that a person has to imagine himself as if he's going out of Mitzrayim and experiencing the Geula. From that you see that the whole mitzvah is all in of Akaras HaTayv. Because if it was just the in of us having the in of Sipur was just to ingrain in us Emunah b'Hakadosh Baruch Hu, so it would be enough for a person to remind himself that his ancestors went in Mitzrayim and that there's HaKadosh Baruch Hu and he took care of us and He brought us out of the shibur, and that would itself bring a person to Emunah b'Hakadosh Baruch Hu. But the fact that it's coming for Hakaras HaTayv, no, the Indian Sipur is coming for Hakaras HaTayv. So only with a person imagining as if he went out of Mitzrayim and putting himself in that mode and envisioning himself as if he himself was being taken out of the shibud, out of the slavery, and being brought out of Mitzrayim, through that he could come to the full Hakaras HaTayv Kadosh Baruch Hu, that he brought him out of that Shrek Chamatziv to Matziv of Gulas Ben Chayrim. So for this that we're saying that the Yisai Sipur is all the in and of L'Haydus L'Halel and come to Hakaras HaTayv, it's moving all these chaluk. Why we have all these nafkaminas, all these chalukim between Sipur and Zecher. Come to Agada with Masav B'nus B'sayim B'shvach. Why do we go with such a mahalach? Because by this that we're seeing that we went from a shvar matzav of Gunus and we went up and we came to Nechayrin and we came Pash Malachim to Har Sinai. We had a full bullet from Mitzrayim. So with this that brings us to a full Hakaras HaTayv. Look where we came from. Look where we got to. And therefore, we also continue throughout the Haggadah. We come to the climax of the Haggadah. The last parts of the Haggadah is the Hallel. We come to Mashbeach and the Shparach, because that's the whole end of the Sipur. That's the whole end of the Sipur. To come to a Matzah of L'Haydus L'Halel Shabech. And like we said that's why we have to be chayav in Mitzvahs Atzmai, because that's Mitzrayim. Because through that you come to the full Hakarat of the Shparach Hu, to be L'Haydus L'Halel. And again, there's a din in Sipur Sitz Mitzrayim. You have to go ahead and be Mitzvah Peh. You have to articulate, to say it, to comparison to people. Because with that, you're being ma'ar yourself, you're ma'ar the people around you, to have that Hakaras of the Shparach Hu and come to that climax of being L'Haydus L'Halel. The Baruch Ber, he explains in the din of Kol HaMarba L'Sapri Yetzias Mitzrayim Reis Meshuvach, whoever he says goes into the details. Mitzrayim is Marba Yetzias Mitzrayim Reis Meshuvach. This din Baruch Ber is not just that it's a hiddur mitzvah, that's a davar noisif on the mitzvah Sipur Yetzias Mitzrayim, just to add on extra hiddur. Baruch Ber, no, this is part and parcel of the mitzvah itself. It's part of the chefs of the mitzvah. It goes into the etzem mitzvah. It's not just a davar noisif, the in and of Kol HaMarba L'Sapri Yetzias Reis Meshuvach. Just like we have a concept that when it comes to a fresh truma, chita achas peterach sakri, you can be to the mitzvah, which is the minimum, but if a person's moisif and takes even more up for a fresh truma, it's just not just the hidden mitzvah. It goes into it's part of the etzem mitzvah. It's even a bigger mitzvah when it takes up more. It's not a hidden mitzvah. So too by Haggadah, when a person marks sits in Mitzrayim, it's not just a davar noisif. It goes into the actual mitzvah. So we could explain this inside of Baruch Ber because since the mitzvah Sipur is in and of Hakaras HaTayv, it's in and of Aidah. When it comes to the in and of Hakaras HaTayv doesn't have any shear to it. You can't say that this is how much you have to have Hakaras HaTayv, just this and that. It's only shear. Just like by Bikurim, there's mitzvah Bikurim. It's only shear. There's no shear how much Bikurim you give it endless amounts. It's all one big mitzvah Bikurim. So too, when it comes to the in of Sipur Yetzias Mitzrayim, Kol HaMarba Reis Meshuvach, the more a person gives the Haidat HaGeshparach, the more Hakaras HaTayv is giving, he's just making greater and being magdil his mitzvah Sipur. It goes into the actual Gufa mitzvah. It's not just a hiddur and an add-on to the mitzvah. So Musayim, so another Nekuda from Yerucham, he says as follows. People think when they have a nes and a Yeshua, that the nes they experience is b'chayiv them to give a Haidat HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He says mamish fakert, that because HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants us to be L'Haydus L'Halel, that's b'chayiv him to give us a nes. It's not pshat the nes is b'chayiv us to give Haidah. Rather, the Haidah is b'chayiv us to have us a nes. HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants us to be so much that we should be mekayim a mitzvah Haidas L'Halel. Therefore, HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives us Yeshuas and Nisim in order that we could get to that opportunity in order to be mekayim a mitzvah Haidas L'Halel. And that's how Chashav and Merim the end of Haidas L'Halel, that can even be an impetus just for HaKadosh Baruch Hu to give us Nisim so we can get to that opportunity to give Haidas L'Halel. Right.